Hi everyone, welcome to my lounge room for this second online video that I'm doing. For this one you will need a cushion. Just right at the very end we'll do a little bit of a twist, and it helps if you have a cushion handy, so if you haven't got one, grab one of those. Otherwise, hopefully this is going to be a nice stretch, a little bit of work for the legs and a bit of release for the hips and the pelvis and the back as well. So have a lay down, get nice and comfortable, and just give yourself a little bit of a wriggle into the floor. So shoulders are comfortable, hips and legs nice and relaxed. Take a nice deep breath in and a big sigh away. Let it go. And then we'll just focus on some nice easy diaphragm breathing at first, and then we might extend it a little bit after that. So nice and softly, bring your fingertips up to rest across your diaphragm. So just below the bottom of your rib cage there. Keep your elbows on the floor so it's nice and relaxed. And then as you breathe, feel the movement of your breath down low into your tummy. So you're feeling it rise as you breathe in. And you feel your tummy soften and relax as you breathe out. And just stay with that, just for a few nice, slow, even breaths. So your rib cage stays soft, your shoulders stay nice and relaxed. And then we'll extend that breath just a little bit more. So this time as you breathe in, feel the diaphragm move, feel your tummy rise gently, and see if you can keep breathing in and feel those ribs expand and your collarbone lift just a little. Then on the outward breath, let your diaphragm soften first, ribs relax, collarbone softens last of all. And you just keep that pattern happening. So it's diaphragm, ribs, collarbone on the inward breath, and again diaphragm softening first, ribs, collarbone on the outward breath. So we've turned it into a full yoga breath using all the different parts of the lungs and maintaining that diaphragm, ribs and collarbone pattern on the inward breath as the lungs fill completely, and then that same pattern on the outward breath as you softly release the lungs from the bottom upwards. So we'll stay just another minute or so with that. Maybe just 2 more rounds of that long, slow breath. And after that next breath, just letting your arms relax beside you again. And then when you're ready, nice and softly, bringing your knees up into your chest, holding on to your knees, having a rock from side to side. And then circling your knees round and round. Change direction, circle the other way. And then bringing your knees into the centre, letting your feet come down onto the floor. Feet together, knees together, just tucked up nice and close to your bottom. And arms resting right out wide from your shoulders on the floor. We'll just do a nice fluid basic spine twist. So breathing in and letting your knees roll softly to the right. Breathing out and letting go and relaxing when you get there. Come smoothly back to the centre. Breathe in and take the knees all the way over to the left. Softening again as you breathe out. We'll do 2 more each way. So to the centre, to breathe in, carefully to the right, breathing out. Breathing into the centre, all the way over to the left, breathing out. And just 1 more each way. So breathing in and breathing out. Last one, breathing in, all the way over, breathing out. And then just come carefully back to the centre, letting your back settle into the floor again, letting those arms relax. And we're just going to do a couple of nice easy shoulder movements, so you can do whatever you like with your legs. Knees can be bent or legs out straight, whatever's most comfortable. We're going to do a careful little protraction and retraction of the shoulders or shoulder blades to start with, just to get some movement happening. So just gently bring both arms up towards the ceiling above you, fingertips pointing upwards, and then taking just the right arm, reach up a little higher so the back of that shoulder comes off the floor, and then bring it back down. Then reach up with the left hand and bring it back down. And just keep alternating like that, one arm after the other, but make it a careful singular movement with each arm. Don't start up a bit of a rock or a sway, and try not to press your head into the floor and lever off your other shoulder or your neck. Make it as much a movement just out of the shoulder as you can. Beautiful. 1 or 2 more. And then letting both arms relax beside you again. Then bringing your right fingertips to the top of your right shoulder, so elbow bent, and make nice big loose circles with that right elbow, round and round. And then change direction, back the other way. And then let that right arm relax beside you, and do just the same with the left. So left fingertips to the left shoulder, nice big loose circles with the elbow, round and round. Again, changing direction, circle the other way. letting that left arm relax beside you again. All right, we're going to start some gentle hip movements and then gradually build them up so that we're engaging the core muscles a little bit as well. So have your knees bent if they're not already, feet flat on the floor, but you want your feet a couple of inches apart from this. And we're going to start a careful opening and closing movement through the hips joint, but with a very specific count. And the reason we're adding a count is to add a little bit of finer control over those muscle groups around the hip joints, just to get them engaged. So creating a bit of a mind-muscle connection. So nice and carefully, see if you can start to open your knees for a nice, slow count of 4. And then slowly bringing them back together for a count of 2. Opening for a count of 4, nice and slowly. Closing for a count of 2. And just do 3 or 4 more rounds of that. You're just letting your feet roll on the floor as they need to. Maybe just do 1 more of those. And when you've done that, just resting back into the centre there. And then we're going to do the opposite. We're going to open for a count of 2 and close for a count of 4. So this time we're taking twice as long to close the knees as we are to open. So open for 2, breathe in, close for a slow count of 4, breathing out. Again, opening for 2, breathe in, closing slowly for a count of 4 to breathe out. And again, just do another few rounds like that in your own time. We're aiming for as smooth and as steady movement as you can. The aim here is to give the hips a little bit of a stretch, but also develop just that little extra awareness and coordination. Maybe do just 1 more. And when you come back to the centre, relax. So now we're going to add a little bit of load, a little bit of weight to that, and it's going to engage the core muscles a little bit more as well. So start by bringing both knees up into your chest. Take both legs up nice and tall towards the ceiling above you. Now the hamstrings might be a little bit tight. We haven't really done anything to stretch those yet. So if you need to have the knees bent a little bit to do this, that's okay too. Make sure your lower back is feeling okay. And we're also going to add in an arm movement just to give it a bit of balance. So bring both arms up tall towards the ceiling above you as well. And then we're going to open the hands and feet for a count of 2 and slowly bring them back together for a count of 4. That's it. Opening for 2, slowly back together for a count of 4. And again, we'll do 4 or 5 more rounds of that if you can. So try to keep the legs nice and upright. If you find that's pulling on your lower back too much, or you find that your legs are starting to drop forward towards the floor, bend your knees a little. That's going to take pressure off the lower back, or take a little bit of load off the lower back. Maybe 2 more. And when you've done those 2, bend the knees, hold on to your knees again, and just have another gentle rock, side to side. And then nice and gently, letting your feet come down onto the floor, rolling over onto one elbow and bringing yourself all the way back up to sit again. And just sitting nice and comfortably. And give those shoulders a little bit of a roll around, nice and relaxed. Back the other way. And relax. And then bring your hands up into a stick 'em up cowboy type position. We're going to pretend we've got our nose pressed against a pane of glass and the hands on the pane of glass as well. And we're going to do nice big circles with the hands. That's it. Very good. And change direction. Remember, stay on that pane of glass, so the hands stay in that same plane as your face. And then relax. Bring your shoulders right up to your ears. Take a really deep breath in and drop it out. One more. Deep breath in and drop. Perfect. And then nice and gently come over into cat or onto all fours and just square yourself up like we normally would. So knees under your hips, wrists under your shoulders, and make sure you've got plenty of length or plenty of distance between your knees and your wrists. So you're not hunching up too close to yourself, you've got plenty of space for the spine to move. And we'll just do our nice normal little cat movement. So letting your spine just dip and soften towards the floor, floating your chin up gently to breathe in, then head floating down, rounding up softly to breathe out, and just keep that going, dipping, lifting the chin on the inward breath, head floating down, tailbone tucking under gently for the outward breath, and just keep going, following your breath, slow and relaxed. Remember, this one is about mobilizing the spine, so it's not necessarily about how far you get to each end, it's about the movement in between. And then coming to rest carefully back into the centre and just walking your hands back, coming upright onto your knees, and we're going to do a couple of little lunges. So bringing your right foot all the way out on the floor in front of you. Make sure it's further out than your knee so you can see your foot beyond your knee. That's important because when we lunge forward, you want to end up with your knee directly over your ankle. So your body's going to stay comfortably upright, hands on the hips if you like, shoulders just roll back gently. And then carefully slide that front thigh forward and stop when your knee is directly above your ankle. And then ease yourself out of that. And just do a few more. We're going to do this nice and fluidly, nice and easy. So we're again, emphasis on the movement, not necessarily the end point. So it's the kind of improving the ability or the function that you have in your hip joints in this position rather than trying to reach an end point and create a stretch. Very good. The next time you come forward, we are going to hold here for a little bit. So stop when that knee is directly above your ankle again. And then we're going to have a go at creating a little bit of an extra stretch. So we're going to bring our hands onto the floor, but both hands to the inside of your foot. So take both hands to the left of your foot there. And you'll see or feel that your knee is touching your upper arm. As you're resting there, see if you can carefully take that knee out away from your shoulder and then bring it back towards it. And just do a little bit of opening and closing like that. That's it. You just let your foot roll off and back to the floor as it needs to. And then make sure that foot feels stable on the floor again. Carefully undo the hands, bring yourself all the way back up out of the lunge and bring that knee onto the floor. And we'll do the same on the other side. So left foot comes out forward on the floor. Again, make sure it's beyond your knee so you can see the whole top of your foot past your knee there, hands on the hips. And then focus on sliding that top thigh forward nice and smoothly. Stop when the knee is directly above your ankle. Easing back again. And just keep that going. So again, spine stays comfortably upright. So you're not leaning or hunching forward as you're lunging. Your body or upper body stays nice and vertical. Your back, the shape of your back, particularly your lumbar spine, isn't changing. You're not arching your back or pushing your tummy or your chest forward. It's all about the movement of the hips. Just one or two more. And then next time you come forward, holding it there. Again, we bring both hands down to the floor on the inside of the foot, so to the right of the foot this time. Once you're steady there, and you can be on your fists if you want to, if the wrists aren't loving that, you take that knee away from your shoulder and bring it back again. And just do a few like that. And then bringing that foot back so it's stable on the floor again. Walk yourself back, bring your body up to the centre and relax. Bring that knee down onto the floor again. And then just have a little stretch back. So take your bottom back to your heels, walk your hands out nice and long, let your head relax and really press your seat bones back towards your heels. So you're getting a stretch through the arms, through the shoulders, as well as through the back there. And then soften and relax. Let your arms rest on the floor. Just another breath or two, nice and gentle here. And then carefully unrolling, bringing yourself up gently and give those shoulders a roll back when you get there. So we're going to do a little bit of stabilisation work now, and we've done this before in class, and the last video we did a diagonal cat balance with opposite arm and leg stretching back. This time it's going to be same arm and leg up off the floor, and we're going to focus on stabilising not just through the hips, the core, but also through the shoulders and that weight-bearing shoulder blade, getting a little bit of stability around that. So come carefully forward into cat again. Make sure you're nice and square, knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. And we're going to do this in a few stages. So start by taking your left leg back behind you, parallel to the floor. You want to flex your ankle so your toes are pointing down at the floor and push out through the bottom of your heel. So that leg is reasonably rigid and it's working relatively hard. Then carefully roll your right shoulder back away from your ear. So you're getting a sense of your right shoulder blade kind of firming up or stabilising on the back of your ribs a little. Now keep that right shoulder blade in mind. Start to transfer your weight into your right hand and arm. And then very carefully, see if you can turn your rib cage up to the left. And then the last thing that happens is that left arm floats up towards the ceiling. Now you keep pressing out through the bottom of that left heel. Left hand floating towards the ceiling there. Another breath or two. And then let the top arm soften. Turn that rib cage back towards the floor. Let the hand come down, knee come down. And have a sit back. Come off that right wrist and give it a little bit of a roll around. Very good. So it's about the ability to control that movement through the shoulder joint as your rib cage is moving in relation to your arm bone, because the arm bone's fixed in place on the floor, the rib cage is moving in relation to that. So we'll do the other side. So square yourself up again. This time it's right leg that floats back behind you, just parallel to the floor. Now firm up the leg again, that just helps with the steadiness. So your ankle's flexed, you're pushing out through the bottom of your heel. Roll the left shoulder back away from your ear a little. Now keep that left shoulder blade in mind. See if you can shift your weight into your left hand a little more. And then carefully turn your rib cage up to the right. So the rib cage moves in relation to the arm bone. And then the right hand can float softly up towards the ceiling. So keep pushing away through the bottom of your right heel. This is about not just balance, but a little bit of core stability rather than strength. The ability of your body to shift position and shift load, but maintain the integrity of the joints. Then softly let that top arm start to come down. Turn your rib cage back to the floor. Let the knee come down. And again, have a sit back. Come off the hands and arms there. Give the shoulders a wriggle. Give that wrist a little bit of a roll around if it needs it. Very good. And then I thought we'd do one more thing on the hands and wrists, so not too much to go, but just thought we'd do a nice downward dog to give the back of the body a bit of a stretch. So start forward in cat again. It's nice and square like we normally do. Knees under the wrists. Knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. Then roll the shoulders back away from your ears and see if you can get a sense of a little bit of a soft spot between your shoulder blades so you're not going to strain through the back of your neck. Then you tuck the toes under. You lift your knees just a couple of inches off the floor. You push your bottom back behind you first, so arms stretch out long, and then you straighten up your legs and your heels might want to sink carefully towards that floor underneath. So just try not to hold your breath here. Keep the breath coming nice and easy. And if you want to do a couple of little hamstring stretches while we're here, you can as well. So you can just bend the left knee a little, let your right heel sink towards the floor a little more. And then alternate legs. Just one after the other. And then when you're ready, bending your knees, letting yourself come all the way down to the floor and have a little resting pose of a child. So bottom back to your heels. If you want, you can rest your head on your hands, or you can have your head on the floor, hands resting back beside your feet so those shoulders really drop and your back, shoulders and arms get a nice rest. And then nice and softly, hands come in underneath your shoulders, just gently unrolling. Give those shoulders a bit of a roll back and relax. Very good. Okay, so we're going to stand up and do a reasonably short sequence. It's called the standing flow of energy, and it's kind of my version of it. It's very much about hips and legs, so giving them a nice big stretch. There's an interesting balance in the middle of it, but you can always skip that bit if you want to. And a little bit of a hip opening and a forward fold for the hips and back as well. So unroll, come all the way up to stand, and just give yourself a little bit of a shake out, a little bit of a relax through the legs. That's it. And then taking your feet out nice and wide. Then we're going to start by turning the right foot to point to the right, and that left foot might just square around a little. Beautiful. Hands come into your chest at the front there. Then opening the arms, breathe in. You want to shift your left hip to the left. Have a little lean out over your right leg as you breathe out. And then nice and carefully, let your right arm float down, your left arm float up. Beautiful. Come carefully back up to the centre, breathe in, and then we'll bend that right knee and stop when it's directly above your ankle there to breathe out. Breathe in, we're going to turn to face that right knee and then fold forward, resting your chest on your thigh and sweep your hands back behind you towards the ceiling as you breathe out. Then take your right hand down onto the floor beside your foot, turn your rib cage up to the left and float that left arm up towards the ceiling. Breathe in and then bring that left hand down onto the floor, squaring yourself over your thigh again to breathe out. Now we're going to do a bit of a balance here. So nice and carefully shift your weight into your front foot there. Lift that back foot up off the floor, leg comes parallel to the floor, and you might want to step your fingertips forward a little so you feel a little bit more balanced. Now this next part, optional, but similar to that kneeling balance we did before, we're going to turn the rib cage in relation to the weight-bearing arm bone. So we're going to leave the right hand touching the floor, start to bring the left one off, you turn the rib cage and carefully float that right hand towards the ceiling. It's a bit of a wobble. Then gently turn back to the floor, hand comes down and let that back foot step onto the floor a long way back behind you again, bending that front knee. Then just bring your hands back in line with your foot there, so you're a little bit squarer. Make sure you've got a nice deep bend in that front knee. You're going to bring your upper body back up to the centre, hands onto your hips. Then take the arms out wide from your shoulders, breathe in, bring them together above your head to breathe out. Carefully straightening through that right leg, we're going to do a big forward fold. So breathe in and carefully fold all the way down over that right leg, softening your head and shoulders when you get there to breathe out. Then stepping your hands around to the side, turning your feet as you go. And then once you're there, let your upper body soften and relax. Then, nice and gently, walking your feet in behind your hands. So it's a bit of a heel-toe movement. Come in behind the hands there. Stop when they're about hip width apart and have a little rest again to breathe out. Then making sure your knees are just unlocked and unroll all the way up to the ceiling. Floating your hands up, looking up between them to breathe in and coming back with your hands at your chest. Nice soft shoulders to breathe out. And have a relax, put yourself back together. So we'll do the same on the other side. So step the feet out nice and wide again. This time it's left foot that points to the left. Other foot might square around a little. Hands into your chest to begin with. Opening the arms, breathe in. Take your right hip to the right a little. Have a bit of a stretch out over that left leg to breathe out. Then let the left hand float down, right hand float up. Beautiful. Come carefully back to the centre. Breathe in, then bend that left knee. Stop when it's directly above your ankle again to breathe out. Then we're going to turn to face that left knee. Breathe in, fold forward, rest your chest on your thigh and hands sweep right back towards the ceiling behind you. to breathe out. Then bring your left hand onto the floor beside your foot. You turn your rib cage to the right, taking the right hand up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Breathe in, take that top hand down onto the floor to breathe out. So here comes that tricky balance. You're going to shift your weight into that front foot, pick your back foot up off the floor, and you might want to step the fingertips forward a little bit again so you feel a bit square. So left hand's going to stay on the floor. You turn your rib cage carefully to the right, floating that right hand up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Then carefully bring the top hand down to the floor. Let the front knee bend as you step that back foot back onto the mat behind you, and you bring your hands back in line with the front foot again. Then keep that front knee bent, the left knee bent. You bring your hands onto your hips, body up into the centre. Then arms come out wide. Breathe in, palms come together above your head to breathe out. See if you can straighten through the front leg. Breathe in and then fold all the way forward. Fingertips to the floor, head and shoulders softening to breathe out. And carefully stepping your hands around to the front or around to the right again, turning your feet as you go. Have a bit of a rest here. Let your upper body soften and relax. Then carefully walking your feet in behind your hands, so that heel-toe movement again. When the feet are about hip width apart, you have another rest, letting your upper body soften. And make sure you've unlocked your knees and unroll all the way up to the ceiling, floating your hands up as you go. Breathe in and come back with your hands to your chest. Relaxing your shoulders to breathe out and relax completely. Give those legs another shake again. And then we get to sit down. So come all the way down. Have a seat. Bring the soles of your feet together. Walk your bottom in and have a nice big rock right from one knee to the other. Just gentle and relaxed. And then carefully coming back up into the centre there. Just have a little butterfly through your knees. And this isn't to create a stretch through the hips, it's more just to bring a little bit of movement back into it after all that standing and stability sort of stuff we were doing. And then relax. And for this next one, you need your cushion. We're just going to do a nice comfortable mermaid twist. So this is a little bit of a stretch, a resting stretch and a twist for the back. So you want to grab your cushion, take your legs to the right on the floor, just nice and comfortably, and that's kind of meant to be your mermaid tail spreading out on the floor there. And then you grab your cushion and bring that right up next to your left hip. And then you turn to face the cushion, one hand each side of that on the floor, and make sure you square your chest up with the cushion to begin with. So you're already doing that little turn through the back. And then when you're ready, let yourself sink all the way down. So your chest is resting on the cushion, not your head. When you get there, make yourself comfortable. So arms, head, neck and shoulders are just wherever they're most comfortable. So that doesn't matter if the arms are out or down or up, or one's up and one's down. All good. Make it as comfortable as you can and let yourself relax. Beautiful. And then just take a few really slow, deep breaths in and out. Feel the lungs fill and expand and see how that moves through the muscles in the back and the backs of the ribs. Nice, deep, slow breaths. And then very gently, bringing your hands underneath your shoulders on the floor, just slowly easing yourself up off that cushion, turning to the front there, and we'll change sides. So take the cushion over to the other side, tuck the legs to the left this time. Remember that cushion's right up next to your hip, so it ends up under your chest, not under your head. Then you turn to face the cushion, one hand each side of it on the floor, and make sure you've squared your rib cage up to it. And then when you're ready, let yourself sink down, and then just make yourself as comfortable as you can. Now if you find this is a little bit tight through the back, you can put another cushion underneath so you're a little bit higher off the floor. You can even rest up on your elbows if you want to. You can stack your fists up, rest your head on your hands. The idea is that it's quite a comfortable resting twist. You're not working hard while you're there, you're letting your body go. So make it as comfortable as you can. And again, nice deep, slow breaths in and out. Feeling how that moves through your back and your ribs. And then nice and softly again, hands come in underneath your shoulders, carefully easing yourself all the way back up, turning back to the front and just sitting nice and comfortably again. So we're just going to do a little neck release like we normally do before we lay down. And this is the most simple one you can get, and it's really as much about awareness and letting go as it is about any particular right way to do it. So just make sure your shoulders are soft, your back is comfortably upright, so if that means sitting on a cushion or kneeling, that's okay too. Closing your eyes for this one. And then nice and softly, just turn your head to the right a little, where it's still nice and comfortable. And just start a very gentle nod of your head, up and down. Now what we're aiming for here is complete, relaxed freedom of movement, moving with as much ease and comfort as possible. So if you're bumping into any little twinges or pinches, don't go back through those. Work around it so that there's nothing for those neck muscles to react to. There's nothing to make them contract protectively or tense. Nice, soft, easy movement. And then carefully bringing that head back nice and still, turning softly to the centre, over to the left, and same thing, just a soft, easy nod of the head, comfortable and relaxed as you can. Shoulders are soft, movement is easy and free. So we're teaching the body to move with ease and comfort and move in a range of motion that's completely without pain or tension. And nice and gently turning back to the centre and relaxing. And then we sit in the mudra. So index finger into your thumb, hands on the knees. Lifting the hands, breathing in and breathing out as we bow to ourselves. Breathing in and out. Breathing in, breathing out as we bow to everyone else in the world. Breathing in and out. Breathing in, breathing out as we bow to the whole universe. Breathing in and out. And relaxing your hands in your lap. Taking another long, slow breath in. And as you release that breath, feeling softness flowing all the way down your spine and spreading out through your seat bones, grounding you gently. And then, when you're ready, laying back again, making yourself nice and comfortable on the floor. And if you like, you can use your cushion and just bring it underneath the backs of your knees or backs of your legs on the floor or under your head, and just let yourself settle in and soften again. So this little rest, this little lay down that we have at the end of each yoga session is really important, just to help the body let go and release after all that work and kind of conscious mind-muscle connection that we've developed. It's letting the body soften again. So try not to skip this part. If you can, you have your palms facing a little bit upwards towards the ceiling, and that just stops the stimulation coming in through the tips of your fingers and the palms of your hands. That just helps your nervous system relax a little more. And just let your breathing find a nice, natural rhythm. And then feel a softness beginning to spread and melt through your feet and toes. You feel the soles and arches of your feet let go. You feel the backs of your heels spreading, melting into the floor. You feel the tops of your feet and toes unwind and melt away. You feel your ankles soften, your shins dissolve, and your calves spread and melt into the floor. You feel your knees unwind and the whole of your thighs soften and sink. Your legs letting go completely. You feel your hips unwind and the backs of your hips and pelvis spread and melt into the floor. You feel your lower back becoming softer, softer. You feel the middle of your back and the backs of your ribs spread and melt into the floor. You feel your upper back and shoulder blades dissolve away, and the whole of your back lets go and spreads into the floor. You feel the very tips of your shoulders unwind and melt away. You feel the backs of your arms melting, spreading into the floor. Your elbows soften, your wrists release, and your hands and fingers melt away completely. You feel the back of your neck becoming softer and softer. You feel the base of your skull melt away, and the back of your head spreads gently into the floor. You feel your jaw soften and unwind. Your cheekbones dissolve and your cheeks, nose and lips release. Your eyes rest back. Your forehead softens and your scalp and hair melt away. The whole of your body softening and sinking, melting away into the floor and letting go completely. And you now begin to bring yourself back into the room. Your breathing deepens and you start to feel the mat beneath you again. You slowly start to wriggle your fingers and toes, softly bringing movement back into your body. Carefully turning your wrists and ankles inside and out. And then stretching your arms to the ceiling, stretching and smiling, giving yourself a big hug across the chest. First one way, then the other. And very gently bringing your knees to your chest, holding on to your knees, having a rock from side to side. And then gently drop in your feet, rolling over onto one elbow and bringing yourself all the way back up to sit. And stretch. And then bringing your hands in front. And we say Om Shanti, which means all is peaceful. So thank you all very much. I'll keep putting updates on the website and hopefully you've had a nice stretch and a bit of a relax as well. So thank you and see you next time. See ya.